This TikTok surgeon just got sent to the Russian front lines after a botched eyelid surgery, and essentially she was told by the Russian court, "You blinded a patient, so instead of going to prison, you're going to a war zone."
For 2 years, I fought for justice in an attempt to prove that I was not to blame for the blindness of a sighted person. I didn't succeed. I lost. I am sure that this story does not characterize me in any way either as a doctor or as a person.
So this cosmetic surgery influencer, someone who's essentially used to posting eyelid lifts and facelifts on Instagram, she just got sentenced for blinding a patient. Instead of serving time in prison, she got sent straight to the Russian front lines as punishment. Is this like the real-life version of being sent to the gulag? The surgeon at the center of this is Ekaterina Linskaya, 40 years old, once a rising name in the luxury plastic surgery scene in Moscow, and this is essentially someone who marketed herself as a plastic surgeon and a candidate of the medical sciences. Today though, her main Instagram is private, her TikTok account, I can't find it anywhere anymore, but the bio though is still visible, and it says, maxillofacial and plastic surgeon candidate of medical sciences, appointments for consultations and surgeries are closed. Yeah, I guess that's one way to phrase the court banned me from practicing medicine for 2.5 years, but she did actually have 2 Instagram accounts, a public professional one and a private ones for friends and family. But now, both are private. But as a lot of people are probably asking, how did this woman go from a TikTok plastic surgeon influencer to a war zone doctor in under 2 years? Well, back in October 2023, Ekaterina performed a blepharoplasty, an upper eyelid lift. So I think this is just like removing excess skin that's up here. That's my understanding of what that is. But her patient was Ina Baroda, who just so happens to be the wife of Alexander Baroda, the president of the Federation of Jewish Communities in Russia. And this was at a private clinic in Moscow called Kleko and was supposed to be a pretty standard cosmetic procedure. It's common, quick, and done by thousands of surgeons every single year. Instead, it turned into a medical disaster because, according to court records and a panel of medical experts, Ekaterina removed way too much skin during the eyelid lift, which left the patient unable to fully close her eyes. And this small problem turned into a big one because her corneas was damaged, and then one of them ended up detaching. Then she eventually lost all of her vision. And when I say vision loss, I don't mean like, oh, my eyesight got worse. I mean, she went fully blind. For a period of time, Ina could not see anything. She ended up going to Italy for 4 corrective surgeries because Russian specialists said that the case was too complex. After all 4 operations, her vision only came back to 30% in one eye. And the bill for all these surgeries, flights, hotel stays, and everything, that was 27.6 million rubles, which is around $305,000. And obviously, that's the number that her lawyer brought to court. Russian media was definitely all over this case. The husband, a high-profile community leader, and the surgery was botched, and the victim was nearly blind. And of course, the person who did all this was a fairly large TikTok and Instagram influencer. And the Moscow court charged Linskaya with Article 238 and 118, providing unsafe services and causing serious harm to health by negligence. And on June 2025, the verdict came back: 11 months and a penal colony, and 2.5-year ban on practicing medicine. She also got an order to pay 500,000 rubles in damages, which the victim's lawyers said they would try to increase since the victim paid over 27 million rubles for this whole thing. 500,000 rubles is a little bit over $6,000. So $6,000 versus over $300,000 of kind of trying to fix your problem. So you went from, being able to fully see to now only being able to see 30% in one eye. Yeah, that's rough. And just shows you like the incredible risks that come with plastic surgery. But Linskaya, the influencer, she insisted that she was innocent, pleading not guilty in court. And she also accused investigators of stopping her from getting an independent medical examination, saying the approved investigation didn't cover everything. And right when things couldn't get even more chaotic, her own lawyer got stripped of their legal status. How does that happen? Well, okay, because apparently her defense attorney, Kristina Vyotskaya, and her head of law office were both disbarred for publicly leaking the victim's medical information. Hold up, what? So I guess the fallout from all of this was so big that even the defense team went down with a ship. Hold up, like what is going on here? This is the first time I've ever heard of this. Obviously, this case just kept snowballing. But before all this, Ekaterina, she was a celebrity in the beauty and cosmetic surgery world. Like she offered VIP procedures, she posted glamorous photos and gave interviews about her work. And now, Ekaterina has her social media locked, and the only thing left is this eerie bio announcing that all consultations and surgeries are closed. It's like watching a public brand dissolve in real time. And here's where the story takes this like very weird turn. Because obviously Ekaterina didn't end up serving that time in the penal colony. Instead, her sentence was wiped in exchange for the government contract sending her directly to the war zone, treating injured Russian soldiers in the makeshift frontline hospital. So she can't practice as a doctor for 2.5 years, but she can be a doctor to injured soldiers. I have so many questions. Also, the court did give her this option and she took it, which honestly wouldn't have been my first choice nor my 50th choice, but to each their own. And she also went ahead and announced it herself before locking her accounts. This is just such a neck breaker of a story. I mean, I saw it in passing. I went, whoa, what? There's no way that happened. But apparently it did. She also said that she would spend the next year treating the wounded under contract.
I am sure that my decision may seem too risky or too dangerous to many, but I am sure that in such a difficult period in the life of our country, every doctor, if he were in my place, would do the same.
But here in that video, she said that she would spend the next year treating the wounded under contract with the Ministry of Defense. And that's quite the jump from going from eyelid lifts for VIP clients to wounds in a war zone. Because she jumped from influencer surgeon to criminal defendant to penal colony sentence to frontline doctor. And my understanding is a penal colony is kind of like a Russian prison. Because the first time I heard of that name was when, what was her name? I think it was Brittany Griner was sent there over her whole debacle going in Russia. It's a settlement for exiling prisoners to a remote location, often for forced labor and isolation from the general population. Either way, it sounds miserable. But Russia was able to send Ekaterina to the war zone because the country allows some people with short prison sentences to replace jail time with service in the military. And this isn't like normal community service, and it's not really like a draft either. It's this deal that the government offers to certain workers who have skills that are badly needed, especially doctors. So instead of going to the penal colony, the person signs a contract with the Ministry of Defense and is sent to help in the war zone. So since Lenskaya's sentence is 11 months, it kind of made her a good fit for this kind of swap. Normally in Russia, sentences under 2 years are the ones who are most likely to be replaced with military work. And since the front lines have serious shortages of medical staff, the government sees more value in a surgeon treating wounded soldiers than sitting in prison somewhere. And this, I guess, is even though she was convicted of harming a patient, Russia still considers her skills useful. But this whole like go to war instead of jail thing, that was so strange to me. I had to look more into it because what happened to Ekaterina isn't some random one-off. Russia's been offering this deal to a growing number of people who are charged with crimes. Because in 2024, this new law made it possible, and many cases required that both prosecutors and defense lawyers tell the accused that they can go to war zones instead of going to court. And if they agree and sign the contract with the military, the case is paused right away, and when the war ends, many of those cases are closed completely. Lawyers say this is kind of like now the new normal option offered across the country. And some people sign because they're scared of prison, and some sign because, you know, they think it will clear their record. And others, like this 18-year-old named Yaroslav Lipovsky, he signed because he thought that was his only choice. But unfortunately, his life ended only 2 weeks after signing that contract going down to the war zone. So obviously, just like it sounds, being sent to a war zone has its own extremely serious risks. And that's why the surgeon's choice shocked so many, because she went from an influencer to actually signing one of these deals. And I mean, overall, this case is just so weird and kind of scary. Like, a lot of what happened during the trial does not make a lot of sense, and the outcome is also interesting, to put it lightly. But I guess this is what can happen when you make a big medical mistake and you mix it with a court system that can trade a prison sentence for time in a war zone. I was trying to find a lesson here, but it's kind of hard. I mean, maybe just like focus more on your craft rather than your Instagram and TikTok bios, and maybe you won't get sent to a war zone. This is, I guess, only applies to you if you live in Russia or a country like that. So, hey, I don't know. Interesting story for today. So if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, drop a like on the video, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.